Have either of you ever done any psychedelics at all?
Um, I don't know if we want to talk about that on the podcast.
Oh, all I was gonna say is like I haven't done DMT. I've done shrooms, but when like in general when you do psychedelics, like it really heightens your senses, your consciousness, destruction of ego. I know that people who have done DMT, dimethyltryptamine, there are a lot of people who mention seeing very similar things to like what other people claim to see, where like they see like these little mechanical
hmm
elves and stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
like have like just really trippy experiences and stuff. Do you think that in a sense like drugs like that almost open up the interdimensional type of thing that we were talking about before, and our ability to kind of conceive and see things in a manner that we can't normally?
I think 100%, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I've I've definitely done a lot of research on DMT and listened to a lot of
Joe Rogan.
obviously
Classic.
Joe Rogan has a lot of classic clips,
Yeah.
but also like just random people who do like trip reports on YouTube and all that stuff, and I just listen. Like I've never done DMT, but it definitely sounds like very interesting, right? Just
Mm-hmm.
the nature
Mm-hmm.
of what people are describing. Like I know this one guy on YouTube, he was explaining how it felt like his entire trip felt like it was uh like 3 years, right? Like it was insanely long in his head, but it was actually just 5 minutes on like in real time. And he was explaining how like he was seeing like these insane like shapes, these insane formations happening in front of him, and he like his body was like a ball of light, and obviously trying to explain it is absolutely insane
Mm-hmm.
because it is sort of like an interdimensional experience, right? And there's no way you can explain that,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like if you were suddenly transformed into a four-dimensional being, there's no words that you can use to help someone like
Mm-hmm.
imagine what it's like. So I like in regards to your initial statement, like I do think there's somewhat of a connection between like interdimensionality and consciousness, because it's one of the I don't want to say few things, but it's one of the things that we just cannot explain using science
Mm-hmm.
right now. So
Yeah, I think
Right.
I think yeah, talking about like I've also like just listening to Joe Rogan himself, I think you get a lot of knowledge in relations to DMT and different psychedelic substances, and what people describe. Obviously, like they can never truly engulf their entire trip in a sentence, but what they even think about, like when some of them describe how they see the universe or the world in a fractal like perspective. Or I remember this one YouTuber. I know I've watched some YouTubers, like trip reports, as Parker was saying, and this one YouTuber said, I opened my eyes on DMT, which is something that usually people don't do. And like I guess I can't really explain it, obviously, but what he was basically saying is that the world did not look anything like what we perceive it as, right? And a lot of people simply say yes because it alters the way that you think and it alters the way you see. Yes, but to a certain extent, there are certain things that it can allow you to witness that you can't even imagine exists in reality. Like like this talk about how you can somehow transcend to another dimension while on a psychedelic substance is just amazing. Like the thought itself is just insane to think about, right?
and Julian,
Yeah.
have you had one of these experiences?
So I've never done DMT. I would love to. But
Hmm.
I've done shrooms. I've done LSD, and definitely have had the experience. First and foremost, like if whoever's listening, if you if you do LSD or shrooms, what I would recommend from like the first time that I did it, that was just outstanding and incredible, was, well, first off, of LSD, like taking a step back, LSD, it's a very long trip. So if you're gonna do LSD, like buckle down, make sure that you have nothing to do basically for the rest of the day and the day after. Shrooms is a bit more manageable. It'll be like maybe like 3-4 hours at most. But I recall when I first did LSD, it's like music felt like you could feel music when you're on it. Like it was just, it's hard to describe. And then I went up to my rooftop and I watched the sunrise, and that was
Wow.
the most incredible and profound thing to see, because it's like the clouds are dancing and like you just see, it's like you're look like, it's like if you and like a sober person were looking at it, you'd be having a completely different experience. And it's
Mhm.
like your ego dies, you feel like all of the things that I feel like for the most part can really hold down human beings, all it just dissipates. Like none of it exists anymore, and you just have all of these good bright feelings, and like you feel like a big ball of positive energy. And
Mm-hmm.
when I think about that, and I don't know if you guys have ever like listened to Lex Fridman, I'm a big fan of him.
Yeah.
There was one time, I think when he was on Joe Rogan, where he said something that I found really fascinating, where they were like talking about aliens and intelligence, and he was saying that if there was really an intelligent civilization that's like way far advanced than us and able to do all these things, more likely than not, they probably would have transcended their consciousness to a level
Mhm.
that we could not even conceive of. And I feel like when it comes to drugs like that, it's almost as if you're like in that moment when you're on those drugs, you're able to like potentially reach that point that
Mm-hmm.
potentially, if there are these intelligent beings, that they would be at.